knowledge is a big part of this, but we made an educational calendar specifically for Waterloo region that teaches gardeners native plants, water practices, soil practices, so that we can preserve the water we rely on and the soil and the ecosystems that we are part of, and have the most productive garden that you can make. And so throughout this, there's native plant imagery. All of these will do well in this ecosystem because they've been adapting here for thousands of years. Each month, we talk about some relevant information, maybe the history of the Waterloo moraine, some of the threats it faces, or native plants, soil practices, water practices, and what you might be thinking about for your garden during these months.
We chose to do a story map, an ArcGIS story map. We really appreciated the interactive nature of it and felt that we could highlight the importance of science communication, making information more digestible with that visual elements as well. We also liked how it had the geospatial element. So as you can see, we have a map of Ontario there where we can highlight wetlands that are local to southern Ontario, ones that we might not think of when we think of wetlands. Just highlighting the importance that wetlands exist around us. They're in urban areas, and just drawing the viewers' attention to the environment around them and the role that wetlands plays in climate change, flood prevention, habitat for animals, everything like that. We found this was a great way to display information in a visually appealing way.
One thing that was really important to me was utilizing creativity and innovation within my project to spark conversations about water among viewers. So I think that incorporating photos and doing something unique like manipulation of them was a good opportunity to do that, and also get people to reflect on what they thought about each photo.
We decided to look at the commodification of water, how people or how corporations, they will take water for super cheap and then sell it to the community. Meanwhile, other regular citizens have to pay ridiculous amounts just to get water and sometimes even have the water cut off.
So our project is about telling the story of the Grand River watershed through sharing traditional ecological knowledge as well as Western knowledge systems. And we kind of put these two together to look at species distributions, wastewater management, and just the general watershed altogether.
I decided to look at environmental issues that are happening within the Caribbean Sea itself. So for instance, I did coral bleaching and also marine plastic pollution. And then I also wanted to make it a very educational way for kids to know how to combat plastic pollution itself. So with my book, which is actually called Saving Billy's Home, we were really interested in teaching kids how these things happen in a very digestible way, and also just the things that they can do to be active in their community to combat these issues.
So we've chosen to reflect the information that we found out through our website here, pictured behind us. So basically we made an accumulative website where we showed all of the information that we got from both our qualitative and our quantitative data and research. So we've put together a few different tables and charts showing the results that we found from our water testing, as well as the survey results that we received from the quantitative survey that we put out.
Our project is a website that goes over the history of the Laurel Creek on its homepage. Then we go over how the creek is related to the indigenous people of Kitchener-Waterloo, or the Six Nations of the Grand River. Their treaties are essentially discussed and what kind of sacred relations they share with the water. Our prime motivation for this website has been that it flows through our university campus. So we also embed a map as to explain which buildings it actually passes nearby. We go through the industrialization and how it has impacted the creek, how many diversions the creek has been through its history. and how the creek has flooded over the years a couple of times, which has essentially made the residents of KW look at it as a nuisance.
We did a podcast titled Water as an Entity, where we try to understand understand the legalities and what really it would look like if we treated water as a living entity of its own, similar to how we treat corporations as entities as their own. Where we spoke to different speakers across different academic disciplines, and we spoke about how, according to their work, what it would look like to grant legal personhood to water bodies.
We were really inspired on the value of teaching water issues to our to the young generation, which is why we chose to, as our final project, the form of a child's book, and we wanted to bring the theme in of how we really don't need complicated humans solutions to climate change, that we really should be focusing on preservation, conservation, and hopefully also informing others and our communities.
So I've decided to create a YouTube video and a PowerPoint. So what I did was that I used resources and scholarly articles to answer a few of my research questions. And I chose to focus on why women are usually responsible for collecting water, the negative impacts of collecting water, the barriers to women's participation in water-related projects and water-related decision-making, and how to improve participation. I took all of this information and created a conference board, so a conference poster, and a flyer, and also YouTube video. I think this was the best way for me to clearly demonstrate all of the research that I had.
I guess what we hope that people take away from our project is just more knowledge of the Grand River and the species that exist around it, and just, I guess, the power of collaboration.
Okay, we hope that by interacting with our project, people get to learn about more water issues and start conversation, and learning more that to get people interested in these social issues and climate issues, that sometimes it's best to get them interested by telling a story and making them feel that they can relate to it.
I think one thing we hope guests will learn from our project is just to recognize that water deserves to be seen as a person. We depend on it, and it also depends on us. So understanding that we have a symbiotic relationship with it, and understanding that we have to protect it.
We were kind of hoping to convey some of the functionalities of wetlands. So as we touched on a bit already, carbon sequestration for climate change mitigation, flood prevention, ecosystem services, culturally important services. So we touched on those, and also we went through a brief history of wetlands in Ontario, and kind of over history, how perspectives have changed on their importance. And then we talked about specific wetlands in Ontario to kind of give some more specific information about the wetlands that we researched.
We hope that this information is helpful in terms of just understanding the importance of the creek throughout history, as well as currently, and the other people, as well as habitats and parts of the ecosystem that rely on this creek.
We hope that guests will learn just how to be more sustainable gardeners, and also hopefully they can learn more about the processes that created Waterloo. Overall, we don't want to try to tell people that this is a bunch of scientific information that they don't know and they should know, but we just want to try to show people that gardening is really intuitive, and a lot of what we know about gardening, you yourself have always known in a way, and it's just up to all of us to kind of go out there and engage with the land and the water we live on.
I guess what we hope that people take away from our project is just more knowledge of the Grand River and the species that exist around it, and just, I guess, the power of collaboration.
So I think my greatest learning from this course is just how closely our identity is tied with water. Insecurity or security of water can really influence the lens at which you view the world you're in.
My greatest learning from this course is it changed my perspective on how I view wetlands across the world. Before I started this project, I kind of had a very different perspective where I didn't really know the importance or all these roles that wetlands can play. So researching this project and getting to learn more just changed my perspective and showed that we really need to preserve these wetlands and that this is an important message to spread.
So my greatest learning was just learning from the students and gaining a different perspective of what is water. We had a mentee of what the Grand River and water means to every student, and someone came up with identity, and I think that really spoke to me. It opened my eyes to so many different perspectives. Like some of our speakers were in Taiwan, and they were talking about the regulations around water in that country, and it was just so amazing to learn about something I never would have.
I thought it was really interesting to see water as a human entity, so kind of treating it like a human, which is something that I believe Dr. Leonard pointed out in her TED Talk. I thought that was super interesting to hear because it's not something that I had even thought of.
One of the important things that I learned from this course is looking at water from different viewpoints and having the different fellows come in with their vast knowledge from different areas really made me look at water in a different light, and that's something that I'll bring to my future endeavors and my career. So.
I think my greatest takeaway through all of the very interesting conversations we had with all of the speakers was the importance of Indigenous knowledge and how and the fact that Western science and Indigenous knowledge, they're not mutually exclusive. It's something that can be worked on together. It's something that we can learn so much from and grow so much through. And I think that's one of the greatest takeaways that I had from most of the conversations that I walked away from during this project.
I really enjoyed how interdisciplinary everything was. For me as a science student, I don't often get to measure the impact of what I'm studying. A lot of things, like it's taken as fact, but during this course, it was really refreshing to see the social aspects of what you're studying, how important it is to include and remember the human and to humanize what you're studying. So even going forward, I know that I want a career where I can work in an interdisciplinary team so that I can gain a lot of insight and expertise from different people. So that for me, I think that once that happens, then I can be very comfortable with the solution that we come up with.
Because everything in the world is interconnected. And so you need people who understand all different aspects of the world. And that's one thing we've learned from this course, even being our instructors, our Professor Heidi Swanson in freshwater ecology and anthropologist Jennifer Liu. And so many of the Jaroslawski Fellows bring different perspectives and worldviews and valuable knowledge that we all integrate together. And so working on this project as an interdisciplinary team, I'm in mechatronics engineering, and
I'm in environmental sciences, and I specialize in ecology and a lot of biology courses.
And we've really been able to combine our skills to create something that we think is successful.
Water itself deserves to have rights. Water itself in its essence is very important and valuable. And so I think having that kind of personhood perspective on the creek and on water was really inspiring and made me want to take more responsibility to take care of this precious resource entity. Yeah.
And as a health studies students, we usually just focus on the health impacts of water. But through this course, I learned how important water is for livelihoods, for ecosystems and everything. So I think that was the biggest learning of this course.
So we all come from, since this is an interdisciplinary course, we all come from various backgrounds. And I think when we come from these backgrounds, we see water in a specific way. For example, maybe you come from access to clean drinking water or from a hydrology, wastewater management perspective. And then being able to come to this course and see all these different viewpoints, whether it's from my classmates or through the Jaroslawski Fellows, hearing all their different experiences in the way that they view water and value water and how it plays such an integral role in life, no matter what perspective you're looking at it. I think it's really opened my eyes and really emphasized the importance of collaboration between different disciplines. And it's okay to not know everything, and that's why we need to work with others to get those different perspectives, so we can take that more holistic approach and address like systemic or wicked issues.
Some of the issues that we talk about, like water, or then even as we talk about climate change and some of the like social justice movements going on in the world, we have to work together. And I think courses like this teach us to work together, and they teach us that everyone deserves a voice in these conversations, especially people who have traditionally not gotten voices in these conversations.
I'm hoping that I can get more involved in advocacy efforts and learn more about water equity and how I can do my part as well.
Water is a liquid of life, and we all must respect it as much as we respect our rights to live.
I've already noticed that has changed my own way of thinking in my everyday life. And it's made me more grateful towards the water and feel compassion for the water, and a strong desire to protect it and make sure that my actions are sustainable.
This course really highlighted the scarcity of water and that the need to protect it and protect it for generations to come. So I think that really sparked with me trying to learn more about how to conserve water so that it doesn't run out.